The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star.
Welcome to another happy Tuesday here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating app of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Haley Sutton with Aisha Morrison and Jess Navarez. We are going to kind of tie up some loose ends when it comes to this Eagles versus Dallas game. Your computer is excited to do that.
My computer's like, yes, let's wrap this up.
So, ladies, obviously it's not as fun being in the building when it's not a victory Monday or a victory Tuesday, but still, I heard you guys chatting a little bit yesterday, a lot of positives to take away from this 26-17 loss for the Eagles. Just a little bit of adversity. Jess, you know a little bit about adversity today.
Oh, man.
Barnacles,
Oh,
girl.
man. It has been a day. If y'all
Just
follow me on Twitter, you know how my day started and how it continued to go. All I'm saying is apartment living is kind of the worst. But that's okay, because here's the thing. It started off bad, and then I got to come here, and now I'm with you girls, and it's just the highlight of my day. So it's getting better. And somebody on Twitter, David, he's part of the B2B staff with me, he's like, okay, this is like the first half of the Cowboys Eagles game, how my morning started. And then now it's like the second half. So we're getting better, everybody. It's all right.
And
It's all
hopefully,
good.
like the Cowboys, you can find a way to push forward with this situation.
I kind of had to find a way to push forward. I mean, when your apartment's getting flooded from your upstairs neighbor's toilet, you find a way to push through somehow, some way. You find a way.
I am just so happy you're here with us today, Jess.
Me too. Honestly,
Tater tots.
it was a morning, y'all. Let me say.
Getting back on track a little bit here, we got off. I just had to give Jess a shout out because she has had a morning.
I
y'all.
also just want to say to my dog, he was right in the middle of it, little Wit. So he has like a little play area, and he looked like Rose on the Titanic because he was just on his bed, so he looked like Rose on the door. It was a chaotic morning.
We'll
But
keep
I'm happy
Rose
to
in
be
our
here.
thoughts and prayers. In all seriousness, though, ladies, today was Tuesday. Jerry Jones spoke this morning on The Fan. The most obvious thing he talked about was Dak Prescott. I want to get to that in a little bit. But first, just kind of wrapping things up, closing the book as we turn the page into Detroit, which we'll focus a little bit more on today. But from the Cowboys side, I want to talk about the offense first. Something interesting that I was just kind of coming to the realization of earlier was the struggles that the offense is having. You forget that a lot of these guys are brand new to the game, right? Jake Ferguson, Tyler Smith, even Tyler Biotish, Connor McGovern. There are a lot of names who are working into the offense. So a question that I was thinking about as I was kind of prepping for this show that I would love for you ladies to answer: do you guys think this is a new era of Cowboys football when it comes to the offense? Because I think when I think of elite or iconic offenses, you think of Jason Witten, Tony Romo, even going as far back as Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin. Do we think that this mix of offensive players has what it takes to kind of be the new era of Cowboys offense?
I would say in regard to the offensive line, if you're talking about Tyler Smith and McGovern, those guys, Terrence Steele, who I think is important to what they do right now. The Cowboys said in the offseason they wanted to get back to being a running team. And I feel like what they're doing, some of the guys they're drafting and putting together show that they want to be a run-first team. Maybe that is a way of getting back to having that identity and stuff. And you're kind of starting to see them find their identity in the run game. I think you saw that later in the game against the Eagles. But as far as, I think this year right now, CeeDee Lamb, they're trying to see if CeeDee Lamb is the guy. I think he's played well in spots and everything, but I think they're trying to see if he's the guy. Michael Gallup is already tight end. The young tight ends, Henne and Ferg, those guys, I feel like also too are in a position to where they're trying to show maybe that they're a long-term guy or whatever. So maybe you're right. They did draft a lot of these gentlemen, bring them in, undrafted free agents. You're 100% correct. I guess we do get so tied into watching them play well that we don't realize that these gentlemen are young. They're still developing. They still have room to get better, like you talk about, Jess. And Yeah, I agree. I guess, I do agree to an extent. I guess this year maybe is a feel-out year for some of these players.
Sure.
But I do agree that it is funny that we forget that Tyler Smith is a rook. Like
21.
People were like beating him up for letting, like he definitely on the interception, he got beat around the edge on that interception, and that was a big reason why that pressure came. But like, he had a pretty solid game for the most part. It's just crazy. You're right. But yeah, go ahead, Jess.
I think when you're thinking of a long-term future with the Cowboys, it is easy to see why this younger team is going to be the future. You know, maybe O-line that you had when you had Tony and Jason, like you just mentioned, and that's the era I grew up watching football in. So I remember that O-line being like, nope, this is a great wall. Nobody's getting past it. But what you forget about those kind of offensive lines is there was a time when they were young too, right? Like you just remember the glory days because they were so good. But what you forget is there was a time that everybody was young. And so what's really cool to see is these younger players stepping up, and even Tyler Smith, for a great example, back week 1, everyone's like, no, no Tyler Smith. And he has been out of the conversation for good reasons because he's doing what he needs to do. Sure, there's slip-ups, we get that. And that's going to happen. He is still a rookie, everybody. Like, just give him some time. But he's done nothing to prove that he didn't deserve that spot. And what's even crazier is when you see the conversation starting to come up of, all right, well, Tyrone Smith, when he comes back, what's going to happen? So I think that's a very interesting conversation that I saw pop up on Twitter. Y'all, it's been a day. Pop up on Twitter because I didn't even think of that. And when you have a rookie that is making you kind of forget that your veteran, guard is out, that's kind of insane when you think about it.
Yeah, Jerry Jones talked a little bit about that. He was kept his cards very close to his chest this morning in regards to Tyron Smith and how he'll look and how they plan to integrate him when he comes back. So obviously that's a conversation that I'm sure will be a hot topic as we get closer to that return. The positives, though, is that he said he's liked what he's seen so far from Tyron Smith's rehab. So that's good. And also, speaking of Jerry, I wanted to read this quote really quickly this morning when he was talking about the team and the offense kind of developing with the eyes on Dak Prescott making his return. He said, quote, "We are a better team than we were 5 weeks ago. We have improved the right way. We've done it with repetition. We've done it with young players. We've done it with players that have worked in to the kinds of things the coaches want them to do. We've had a lot of depth that has gotten a lot of reps. We're a better team than we were when we lost against Tampa, period."
Facts.
He put that period at the end.
Period.
Good.
End quote. So, again, I just wanted your thoughts on that, if you agreed on that side, or if so, how they improved.
No, like you talked about it earlier, adversity. Like, they have I'm not going to sit up here and say that they're just completely battle tested, but teams don't win without their starting QB, and this team had to figure out different ways to win these games. Obviously, you got good play, certain splash plays from special teams. Defenses came through in a mighty way, but then also I want to highlight Kellen Moore and just the maturity that it's taken from him. Like, obviously, he still has his blemishes in certain spots, but he really has changed how this offense is being run. It is predominantly through the run. It's predominantly through the run game. But just some of his concepts, his blocking concepts, if you look at some of the pass plays, there's guys open. He is scheming better and differently, a little differently than what he did last year. So I think that they have came out collectively and came together to make it through this point in time without Dak Prescott. And I do agree that it makes them look better. The fact that they did what they've done without their starting quarterback, without good field position almost every game, with losing time of possession almost every game, like finding a way to win. There's something to be said about that. And in this league, it typically is with coaching. It's typically with guys coming together and playing together as one. And you've heard this team echo the same things in these interviews, is that this is an unselfish team. They had to come together to win this game. And I think the unselfishness is going to help later on in the season.
Yeah, and I think I'm looking at the definition of resilience here. It says the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. So when you think of week 1, and we talk about this a lot, You're walking out of that Tampa Bay game. The news of Dak's thumb injury comes out. Everybody walking out of that game was like, "Oh, the season's done. That's it." Like we just saw the one game with Dak in. Like it was the worst possible case scenario walking out of that game, and just such a heavy feeling. Well, no. Because nobody expected the Cowboys to do what they've done. And it doesn't necessarily mean, there's only fewer preseason games that we see. So that week 1 doesn't define really any team in the NFL. And I think that's so important to learn. So I think it's hard to say how they're better for say, but I know that they're resilient because of everything that they've had to come, all of the adversity. I mean, you lose your starting quarterback week 1. Come on, guys. How many teams can pull together and actually win like they have? And again, we've talked about why Cooper Rush deserves the credit for that, and we'll get to that later. But I think when you look at this team as a whole, it wasn't necessarily that they were never good. It wasn't necessarily that talent was never there. It's always been there. It's just been, one, you have a bunch of young players, like we talked about. They have to get used to that, whether they had preseason reps or not. You're going up against the starters when the regular season starts. 2, you have, all of the outside noise of everything that we hear and we consume. That's not what's going on in the locker room. And I think it's hard to kind of remember that sometimes. The messages that, people talk about as fans that they think they know is not what's going on in that locker room. And I think that brotherhood has always been there since day one. And I think the closeness and tight-knit of this team is something that it's not necessarily better. It's always been there. And I think you're just seeing the start of it. I think as far as getting better, they're just going to start to find that groove to see how beastly they're about to be. Because, until we have Dak back in, until the Cowboys have Dak back in, I should say, we won't necessarily know what they look like. I still think the best is yet to come for this team, and that says a lot considering, they're still in the conversation for being one of the best teams in the NFC right now.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned the adversity that goes into that, because when you look at the opposite side of the ball, you've got a team of, mostly veteran experience, and then you have guys like Micah who's already playing like a veteran. And in games like Sunday, when they let up the most touchdowns, that they have all season, and listening to Dan Quinn yesterday, you could tell he was just so fired up. He was so feisty. I think the first thing that came out of his mouth was that he was pissed because of, he kept saying, we know the standard that we can play at. We know what we are capable of. And when we don't play to that standard, it makes us mad. Like, it makes him mad. And my favorite thing that he said, and it just goes to your playing against adversity and holding yourself accountable. He talked about how everyone was patting them on the back and saying, oh, that second half effort was really good. And he said,
we don't care.
We don't care. We don't, we shouldn't have to be getting a pat on the back for our second half effort if we take care of business in the first half. So, when you talk about accountability, adversity, resiliency, I think all of those things kind of layer in together.
Yeah, and I think that to piggyback off of what you said with Dan Quinn, and I listened to his press conference as well, and you could feel that he was frustrated, because one thing about Dan Quinn as well is, like, he's an assignment-based coach, like, and the tackling in this game was a problem. This game, gap integrity. Ron Curse talked about on Cowboys Hour. Please check out Haley Sutton.
So good.
If you want to learn more about these,
many talents
absolutely. Like, if you want to learn more about these players and also get some context on some of the things within the game, please check her out. Ron Curse talked about them not playing their assignments, guys kind of being out of spots, out of position because they're trying to make a play. I feel like, I felt that. I felt him when he was like, I'm pissed. I was like, I'm sure they're going to be pissed. But in this game, I felt like the defense really, all things considered, I can't be too upset about some of the things that happened with them. I think that, but I also will say, credit to the Eagles. Their offensive scheme is legit, and it's hard coming through my teeth. It is.
You sound like Jason Garrett on that pregame show, girl.
Man,
it's hard coming through my teeth.
So cringe.
But what they do with the RPO, with how they pull and pin guards, how they put your defense in tough situations, I do think this is going to be a great learning experience. That's going to be a rumble. Christmas, baby. My family don't even celebrate Christmas. That might be it for me. You understand me?
Mm-hmm.
Give me some eggnog and call it a day.
Oh, no eggnog.
Yo,
Girl, no. Oh,
You
gosh.
already came at me for, well, we like pumpkin spice. You
We're
don't like
good.
my eggnog?
No. I tried it live on air one time when I was on local news, and that was the worst decision because I almost threw up on TV.
I'm hurt.
So.
They took advantage of the Cowboys' aggressiveness early in that game, and I'm glad. Like, I really think this is going to be fantastic teach tape for these young defensive players. Sam Williams is going to get a lot of good teach tape out of this game. But yeah, I felt Dan Quinn yesterday when he said that. I was like, yeah, I'm mad too. This is hard to watch.
Now I'm mad.
Yeah,
now I'm mad.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah, well, and again, credit to the Eagles because really, I think on the
She's
Cowboys
gonna say
side
it
of
too, y'all.
things,
She's
on
gonna
the
say it
Cowboys
too.
side of things, you don't want to admit how good they actually are. But here's the thing, they're doing great, and I think a lot of that credit goes to Jalen Hurts and the kind of quarterback he is, how he's played. I mean, right now he's ranked 9th in completion percentage through 6 games at 66.8%. Last season during that time, during this same week, he was ranked 26. So to show you the progression he's made within a year, you have to give credit where it's due. Jalen Hurts, I think, is just such a big reason that, the Eagles are playing like they are. He's also ranked 3rd in yards per attempt at 8.23. And I mean, honestly, giving credit where it's due, he's a large reason why the Eagles are still undefeated. Yeah. However, I'd like to believe that we're not going to keep saying that for much longer. But I know Haley wanted to talk about their schedule and kind of looking ahead. I don't know, guys.
I'm looking at this schedule, y'all.
I don't know, guys. That's.
I want to add, I think you're right. I mean, yeah, the RPO is very important to what they do, and him being a running quarterback is going to. It's not the norm, like we talked about. Like the Cowboys won't see that many quarterbacks that have that capability, or even just that scheming like that they were using against them. If they see it again, hopefully they respond well to it. But field position was huge in this game as well. You put your the offense put the Cowboys defense on the 40. Like, I mean, I think the Eagles were within the Cowboys 40 like 4 times this game. That's not. Is it possible? I think they held them to field goals twice in those situations. But when you talk about complimentary football as well, I think that we have to acknowledge defensively they were put in some rough spots. They don't make excuses. It's not their job to. I'll say it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just going to say really quick, we're going to have to take our first break, but and this is a question I would love for our social media listeners to get involved with. Are the Eagles as good as they are on paper? I'm going to read their schedule out really quickly. They opened the season with the Lions, and then they played the Vikings, the Commanders, the Jaguars, the Cardinals, and last week against the Cowboys. They do have the potential to be 10-0. Well, with the Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts lineup before they get the Packers. So I would love to hear from our social media, from our listeners right now. Tweet us, DM us. Do you think the Eagles are actually as good as their 6-0 record on paper? I'm going to let us stew on that as we take our first break on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. When we come back, though, it's Tuesday, and we once again have a very special guest joining us in the studio. So stick with us as we introduce you to a special guest. This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. Now, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Welcome back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to introduce you to our special guest in just 1 minute, but first let's go over to Jess.
All right, let's talk all about Q. Barbecue Fest Miller Lite is proud to bring you Q Barbecue Fest Dallas, located at the Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium. Join your Cowboys from November 4th through November 6th for some of the best barbecue in the country. Get your tickets today at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing provider of AT&T Stadium. I love barbecue, y'all. That sounds delicious. Time for lunch. Early dinner, I guess.
It's dinner time. Yes. Before we get to dinner, though, we are so excited to start doing this every Tuesday, where we are spotlighting women within the Dallas Cowboys organization. And I can't think of a better second guest for us to have than Emily Cruz Robbins, the Senior Director of Community Relations and Alumni Affairs. Emily, thank you so much for joining us. And you've had a busy day, but I just kind of want to open the floor to you quickly. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do here at the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, my goodness. Well, thanks for having me. I'm
Hey.
excited to be here.
Hey, girl.
So, again, I do the community outreach, and I've been with the organization 28 years. This is my 29th season, so date myself a little bit there. But, so we're out in the community today. We call it Community Tuesday during the season, where we engage with today was current players, former players, and cheerleaders. We were visiting a middle school. So we do so much, but just really happy to get to be the person to help facilitate it.
Yeah, I love that. And so what are some of the initiatives that you all tackle, no pun intended, but during the season and even during the off season?
Well, there's a lot. We have a strategic plan, and so we have 5 pillars for the 5 points of the star that we strategically plan around during the season and in the off season, primarily with the Salvation Army and everything that they do all year long to help people in need. We focus a lot of our efforts there. Youth and health and youth football, women's initiatives, which we just got off of Crucial Catch and our breast cancer survivor, Star Survivor program. Let's see, and then there's the Hispanic demographic that we, target a lot of our activations around. Military and Salute to Service is coming up in December. So all year long there are themes during the season that we build our weeks about leading into our game. So there's themes at games, so we build our activations that week around that game theme.
Beautiful, beautiful. Aisha.
Yeah, you just mentioned Salute to Service. I am a veteran of 8 years, and I wanted to know, Emily, what types of events do you folks host for veterans? And I think it'll be healthy for us to know. I want to come.
For sure. Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Salute to Service this year is the game is on December the 4th against the Colts. It's also our My Cause, My Cleats game.
So love that one.
Yeah.
Love that.
We are going to have a heavy, really exciting showing of Medal of Honor cleats. So for the Medal of Honor recipients. So it's going to be so cool. All of our coaches are wearing Medal of Honor recipients cleats, and I don't know if that's a surprise or not, but I just said it. And then we
love dropping bombs here on the podcast.
Dropping bombs on Girls Talk, Boys Talk.
There's another position group are all wearing Medal of Honor cleats to honor our military that served and that are recipients. So it's going to be amazing that they're combined this year. So, but backing up on Halloween, we're hosting Trick or Treat for active and veteran military members and their families to come to the Star and come trick or treating and get a tour. Yeah, bring their children. So that's there's a sign up for that in advance. So that's something on October 31st we actually do here. We're doing a women's workshop where we're hosting. It's a career day, if you will, and a bunch of our corporate sponsors will be there. And so we are working with, again, the Salvation Army, and then we've also invited a group of veteran women that are interested and may need some help finding jobs. So, yeah, all year long, not just during Salute to Service Week. One other really great program we do is we do a baby shower for 20 military women, pregnant women, whether they're serving themselves or their spouses are serving. And so they get it's a baby shower here at the Star, and they get so much great stuff.
Thank you so much for that. I feel like I know as a veteran how many times I wanted help, assistance, and I was looking for someone to help me. So I think it's so healthy that you are giving this information out for other women. I hope that it helps other veterans.
Well, thank you.
Oh, Lordy. the baby stuff is like, I don't know if people know how hard it is being a military spouse or a widower, but I have friends who have gone through these things and went through pregnancy and things alone, and it's hard on you. It is hard on you. So I'm encouraged by there being support here at the Star. It makes a lot of sense.
Emily, for you, you could tell. I'm just watching you talk about what you do, and you just gush.
She loves it.
You can just tell. Where does that passion come from? Because I think sometimes with community service, it can be challenging because you need volunteers. There's a lot of moving parts that go into it. Where does your passion come from?
That's a great question. I don't know that I've ever been asked that. It definitely comes from within. And I think above all, I like helping people. And so this is a great place to be because we do so much to help others. And it's not me that's helping them. It's our organization and the Jones family that supports. I am just fortunate to be in the position to be the person to facilitate the helping or facilitate helping create the character conversations that we did today, and hopefully we touch someone's life, talking about mental health or anti-bullying. So I just am thankful to be the person in the middle of it, connecting the dots. And I think I just like to be a helper, just like to help people. And that's, that's me my whole life.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so did you ever think that you would work within the realm of sports and community relations? How did that story come up? Because I think it's so beautiful. Like you said, you have this incredible platform with the Dallas Cowboys to be able to give back to so many different groups and so many different peoples and in so many different ways, right? Mm-hmm. So did you ever think that you would tie sports in and then community relations and make this beautiful little marriage with them both?
No, not at all. All I knew is I wanted to do public relations and community relations, and not even public relations. I didn't even have community relations when I went to college. So it was a journalism degree, and I just wanted to do public relations. I knew I wanted to work in-house corporate PR, not at an agency, so I had that defined. And then I was a candidate at my college for a minority recruiting program that the National Football League was hosting. Wow. And so and I was like, sure, I'll try. And that's how it started. And so then I went to work in New York City at the league office, and there I was in sports. Now, they knew I loved football. I was a athlete and then a cheerleader in high school and college, and so they knew I liked football. So I think that was one thing. And when you're from Texas, you grew up with football.
Live and die.
But no, to answer your question, I never thought that my degree would be what I was doing my life career with. So, no, not ever did I think about that.
What's been your favorite part of this journey so far?
Gosh, which decade? I'm in my third decade. Well, there's so many great things. I mean, from the community, side, I think working with, Salvation Army and just being a part of all the great things that they do, they help so many people in need, and the need is so great. So I see that on a daily basis. And then getting to see, Make-A-Wish children, all the wishes we do, see them smile and have happiness while they're here, that's amazing. And I know they're not here to see me. I know they're here to see the players, which I'm so happy to get to help to be a piece of that magic. But something's really funny. When I first started here, me and the guys were all the same age. We were like brothers and sisters, Troy, Emmett, Michael, we're all born in that decade. And then, they retire and we keep working. So then it's the next decade of players. So I was the sister and then the aunt, and now I'm kind of the mom, and now they call me Miss Emily. And I'm like, oh my God, they're calling Miss Emily.
So sweet.
And so I think maybe one day if I'm the grandma, I may retire. But I don't know. I think I got a lot more in me. So
I'm seen them interact with you though, like as you're waiting outside the locker room to get them to sign up for stuff. And you, again, like you can just tell they flock to you. So I think the Miss Emily, I can't wait to be like a Miss Haley one day to some of these guys because it's so cool. You get to see, we were just talking earlier about the offense currently, and they're so young and you forget, but that's such fresh perspective because, you know, hopefully in 10 years and we're still doing this and you see those guys kind of grow up right before you.
I know, because they're like the same age as my son now.
Oh.
So, yeah.
And
crazy.
so last week we had asked Mo, who was our previous guest, what is any advice you have for someone, specifically women, that want to break through in this career path and kind of follow your footsteps? What is the best advice you can give them?
Don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't, or because really my dream was to become. I wanted to be a broadcaster, and someone.
You are.
Yeah,
broadcaster. There you go.
You did it.
And so I let someone tell me that I couldn't, and I regret that. So I would definitely say, if that's your passion and that's what you want to do, push. Push for it, and don't ever settle. That. Second best. Now it all worked out. I love what I do, and it probably was, my path and my journey. But I think stick to what you want to do and be patient, because sometimes it doesn't always happen like that. Everybody wants this, instant gratification. So I think being patient and being strong and being willing to learn as you grow, and if your dream job isn't always available, be willing to do something else and add that to your toolbox along your way, because you'll eventually get where you want to go if you're determined, but utilize every opportunity to add to your toolbox.
Oh, beautifully said.
I know.
Speaking to just right to the heart. It's definitely beautiful to see, and
Needed that.
it's so empowering and inspiring to hear you and hear your journey of how you never even thought that this was a possibility, and yet you still love it so much. And so, if you have one favorite memory that you can key in on out of everything that you do, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
That you can tell us.
I know, we had to say that to Mo last week.
That you could tell us.
The PG version.
One favorite memory. Gosh, I have so many. I mean, every week is a memory. And I think that says, I don't know that I would be able to do this job if it was the same all these years. So I think every week we create memories. We like for Make-A-Wish, we plan every wish the same, but something different happens every game. So I just think, probably getting my first Super Bowl ring.
Oh,
said
that
first.
is a memory.
Her first Super Bowl ring.
First
y'all.
of 3.
The search for that one too. Like,
Humble brag.
a greater thing.
All right, so
Something.
next time we see you, Emily, I really want you to bring all of the Super Bowl rings that you have, and I want you to just sport them up for us,
Like
because
that.
that's more than a memory. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Emily, as we wrap up really quickly, maybe some special projects or some events that you have coming up that we can let Cowboys Nation know about.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so the holidays are just around the corner, so I would encourage everyone to, one, donate to those red kettles when you see them, when they get out there. Red kettles across the nation raise so much money for so many people, and the need right now is greater than ever with, the prices of food and people needing food. So I would say please donate to the Red Kettles. And even if you did $25 a month as a gift for someone, if you can afford that, I mean, it's ongoing. The need is all year long. And then I would say also for the Salvation Army, if you are able to adopt an angel and buy a wish or a need for a child, to be able to help parents provide Christmas for children, I would say those are two things we really, encourage everyone to participate. And wherever you're listening, you can do it. They have Salvation Army everywhere. So,
Emily Cruz, Robbins, Senior Director of Community Relations and Alumni Affair. Emily, thank you so much.
you so
There's
much.
your
Thank you.
Applause.
Thank y'all.
We love getting insight from all of the ladies in this office, in this building. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you so much for joining us. We are going to take our second and final break here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. When we come back, we are on Dak Watch. We're going to talk a little Dak Prescott to wrap up the show. This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. Now, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
With Smoothie King's original Angel Food and new Angel Food Slim without added sugar, you no longer have to choose between treating yourself and hitting your goals this summer. You don't have to choose between great taste and feeling great. Because at Smoothie King, every blend is made with whole fruits and no syrups, so you can satisfy your cravings without compromise. The only choice you will need to make is which one is best for you. Try our classic Angel Food or the new Angel Food Slim, blended without added sugar. Smoothie King, rule the day.
Hearing that little intro come in on Girls
What
Talk.
is that?
It's
Do it
such a
again.
vibe.
My shoulders shimmy, Aisha. This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not going to let Aisha talk smack about my shoulder shimmy, so we're going to go straight over to Jess.
All right. Well, get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now and get your fan pack, exclusive benefits, and more. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details to join today. Things you love to see. $20. That's a good deal. I love that.
Someone else who's making a little more than $20, Dak
Cha-ching.
Prescott.
Jazzy, do we have the cha-ching or like a little applause? Anything for Dak? Just the there it is.
All signs are pointing at him being the starter on Sunday. I think we can feel a little bit confidently about that. He even posted on his Instagram, I think, for the first time since week 1, kind of trolling us. So all signs are looking that way. Mike McCarthy telling us that he should have cleared his medical protocols going forward. He should be at practice as a full go tomorrow. Jerry Jones was a little bit cryptic, I think, this morning. He didn't quite want to come out and announce Dak as the starter, which makes perfect sense. You want to give him a week to get back adjusted, to knock some of that rust off, see where he's really at. But he threw on Sunday before the game. Everyone I've spoken to who saw him said he looked good. He looked ready. He probably could have played on Sunday. So that's just positive. But a question that I have been pondering, and I love y'all's insight, how does this offense improve with Dak? Because we've seen what Cooper Rush has done, obviously, with the tools that he's had. He's been consistent. How do we get the offense to take that next step with Dak?
Go ahead, Jess.
Oh, I was like, go ahead, girl. It's because I was reading Dak's caption. You said he posted on Instagram, and it was control the controllables. And I think that is such a valuable statement. It's so little, but it says so much, because I think when you add Dak back into the mix, what you do is a few things. One, you get your stability back at quarterback. It's no longer a guessing game of, oh, when is he going to be ready? You know, how long is this going to happen? Not that I think that was happening for the team at any point. I think that's more on the outside noise, like I had mentioned earlier. But what you get is you get your leader back. And that just having Dak in a room is so powerful, I think, for anybody. And no knock on Cooper Rush. Again, I want to preface this by saying, Cooper Rush, we appreciate everything you have done for this team up until this point. But when you have Dak in, it's just such a different vibe. It's such a different energy that he brings to this team. And so I think give him a little time, a little space to knock off some rust. I don't think it's going to take him long. I think he's itching to get out there. But what I'm excited to see out of Dak is, like we had mentioned earlier, Aisha had brought up that article a while back, is how he said, I took a step back, I saw things from a new perspective, and it can just be simple. So what I'm really excited to see is Dak's new perspective show when he's playing, and not maybe changing the play calling as much and not calling off certain things, and instead just believing in his own skill set, because I think the best version of Dak comes when he believes in himself. He has the complete, total trust and belief from the rest of his team, from the rest of his offense. I think when you see Dak struggling, it's a mental fight, and I think that's so important important for anybody to shed light on because that's so relatable. I mean, really, when you look at your worst days, who's your worst critic? Yourself. And I think Dak Prescott coming back off of yet another adversity in his life is just going to show something that is so beautiful. And I'm on the Dak hype train. I'm so excited to get QB1 back. What about you?
I think schematically, you should be. I think that I'm excited about it because when you look at the film, you see so many instances where you say to yourself, okay, I think Dak would have made that second read. Okay, I think Dak could have got that 2 yards here. I think you get in all those third and short situations yesterday. They're or RPO situations there, and Cooper Rush is not the guy that's going to do that. And if you also look at the Eagles' defense as a whole this last game, you could tell that they knew what they were getting at quarterback. They knew the type of quarterback they were playing against. So schematically, I think that you get more in your passing game in this. And then also, too, I think Dak is returning to an offensive line I talked about yesterday that is more put together than it was to start the year. I think this offensive line is slowly but surely coming together. A lot of young guys like we talked about. But I think that, and like you said, he gets better. You get better because he's in the room. You get better because he's in the room. He's there. He's already been in the room, it sounds like, anyway. But to this capacity to be leading this team, it's important for him to be there. And I think that your defense is going to rejoice too.
And you were talking about growth earlier. We're talking about, have the Cowboys gotten better? I think finally getting Dak back, you have the stability and you have finally kind of that ground to grow from. So I think if you want to talk about growth, we're going to see it even from this week. If he starts, it's, we can't say it's official yet, but whenever Dak's starting point is to the following week, you're going to see growth every week. And I think that's just such a key thing for Dak is he's not going to stop improving.
Yeah, you keyed in on something the leadership. I think it's common for your quarterback to be a leader, right? But I think this period in Dak's career has really kind of shifted the way he thinks about leadership. And something interesting, Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons went on a podcast called the Pivot Podcast.
The Pivot is so good.
Yeah, and Micah was asked about Dak Prescott and asked, about his injury and how he's handled it. And Micah said, the thing that's been the most impressive is that Dak was never sad. He was never down. He was never, pity me, feel sorry for myself. He has just been a constant positive reinforcement in the locker room, on the sideline, when he's coaching up his guys or whatever it is. And I think that takes a special kind of leadership, you know what I mean? Because it's hard. It's hard when you're sitting there and you're the guy. Like the quarterback controversy was a joke. You're that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And yet here you are, you're having to watch fans who rock your jersey every week talk about leave Cooper in. People are still saying it on Twitter, leave Cooper in.
Oh, gosh.
Right? You have that. You have this guy who's performing better than expectations. And not that he ever wished on Cooper's downfall, but it's that natural instinct inside you. I think Christy was the one, or Jane was the one maybe who talked about it, of wanting to be a competitor. But I just thought that insight was so cool to know that, on the opposite side of the ball, these guys are seeing what Dak brings to the table as a leadership. Yeah. And so I think this injury, he probably won't see it that way, but it's been such a positive thing for him.
And I'm really excited about seeing if this because like I said, this offense has gotten back to going downhill with the run game and stuff. And I personally have said that I think that Dak Prescott as a runner has always been important to his game, and it's been talked about. I wonder if some of the grit that this offensive line is starting to play with rubs off on him a little bit, and we start to see a couple stiff arms sometimes. I know people get tight in their chest, but we can't play scared no more. I think maybe he's not. I hope that he wouldn't come out here and play scared, but I think that maybe adding some of what Jalen Hurts was able to do to this Cowboys defense to what Dak Prescott can do could be also helpful to this offense as well. So I'm looking for him to come out, play comfortable, because he has something to come back to that's kind of been floating, right, and see if we get some more explosive plays, splash plays sometimes in this offense as well.
I also think he is going to give these wide receivers a lot of confidence to play with. And again, I'm talking about stability when, and of course there's conversations that go on that we don't ever know about, we don't get to hear, but when you have your QB1 finally in, you can start to see that chemistry and the connection with Dak and Noah Brown, or Dak and Michael Gallup, develop, you can finally see that building. So I think getting that wide receiver core more confident in themselves and with who they're playing with, it is going to show, and I'm excited.
Less max protection. Tight ends get a little bit more burn as receivers. I mean, listen, these young tight ends are also coming together too. I think we can see them maybe get more, depending on what's happening. We haven't talked about it, but depending on what's happening with Dalton Schultz, I think also too you can see the tight ends get a little bit more burn too, because you're not with Dak being a little bit more mobile. I think you'll have less max protection situations as well. So yeah, let's see.
We'll see.
Lions got a couple guys over there. They can make some stuff shake. So we'll get into it tomorrow. But yeah.
Overall, though, I think the message here is, you know what? It's a loss. You move on. You turn the page. And you have a lot of very exciting things to look forward to.
It's a long season, y'all. It's like 11 more weeks in this thing. We got a minute. Calm down.
11 more
Pipe
weeks.
down.
We do not have 11 more weeks today on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. That's all the time we have. But tomorrow we're going to break down this Lions matchup. We'll talk a little bit more about what Dak Prescott brings to the table and the Cowboys as they prepare for that matchup at home against the Lions. That'll do it for us, though. Today, for Aisha, for Jess, I'm Haley. We'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?